Bears! This is Bear Blast, the official podcast of student life at Mott Community College. Whether you're new to campus or have been here for a while, this is your spot to catch up on what's happening, hear real stories from students and staff, and find new ways to get involved. From events and campus tips to student success stories and special guests, we're here to help you make the most of your time at MCC. Let's get started!
Hello and welcome to Bear Blast. My name is Alyshia and I am the Student Life Coordinator at Mott Community College. Thank you for joining us today. We have a new topic that we'd like to talk about today with a few special guests. But before we get into that, I just wanted to say thank you guys for listening to us. We do have a lot of different episodes on this podcast recording on the station. We're very excited about sharing those with you. If you're interested in any more content, feel free to check out our videos below. We have plenty of different objectives and topics that we'd like to bring to your attention based off of some conversations with students, faculty, and staff here at Mott. So thank you again for listening, and we hope that you enjoy today's episode. Our episode today is called The Financial Side of College Life: Tips for Budgeting, Scholarships, and Financial Literacy. So before we get into that, I just wanted to welcome a couple of our special guests. Some of them are from SPAC, which I'm sure if you've listened to us before, you do know that SPAC is our Student Presidential Advisory Council. So we're very excited to have them back. And then we have one other special guest with us today. So I would like to go around, just have you guys kind of introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about you. What's your name? What's your major? Why did you come to Mott?
I am Andre Hood, pursuing respiratory therapy, and I love Mott. I love being here. I love being a part of SPAC.
Okay, my name is Alyshia Anderson. This is my second semester on SPAC, and I'm majoring in dental hygiene. And I came to Mott because I wanted to be close to home and just be around my community, I guess you could say.
My name is Grant Morrison. I'm also a member of SPAC. I'm a co-vice chair on the CLEF committee. And I'm going to Mott as a business major currently to hopefully own my own business one day.
Then I'm Andrew Custer. I am an adult student advocate at Mott Community College. This is my second year working here, and I help students who are 25 plus complete and get their degrees here at Mott.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. That happens to give us a little bit of a well-rounded experience. We have a little staff input and a little student input. And of course, my objective is just to ask questions and, give my opinion, which I do all the time, probably too often. But I do think that this is such a heavy topic. We're just going to jump right into it and ask some of the hard questions. Because I know that there are some things that we talked about even before we started recording that have a lot to do with financial literacy and how to deal with the financial side of life when it comes to college. So my first question to you, and this could be both for the student or the staff, depending on who wants to answer, but what expenses surprised you the most when you started college?
I would have to say books.
Books, yeah.
The cost of books surprised me mostly.
Yeah. What about books? Just mostly the fact that you have to have so many and all of them cost like over $100 minimum.
Exactly. Yeah, even the ebooks, they're just as expensive now as the physical textbooks. So
I paid $90 for my business law ebook this semester.
Ebook, wow.
Yeah.
That's for an ebook.
That's for an ebook. Yeah. See, when I went to college, we didn't have ebooks, so yeah, that's definitely a very interesting financial curveball to throw at you. And so what do you do to kind of supplement that now that we brought up books? Like, do you guys shop online? Do you go to the college bookstore? Like, where do you get yours to kind of help with that pricing cost?
I typically utilize like Amazon. That's my go-to. Amazon and Facebook as well. Mott actually has like a exchange Facebook webpage, I guess you could say. And if you join, you can communicate with other students at Mott and like kind of exchange books or buy them for cheaper, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
That's basically what I try and do. The bookstore can be expensive, but sometimes they do have deals too.
Yeah.
Going on. And utilizing student discounts at like bookstores and stuff like that.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
what I would mostly do.
And I do know that like campus bookstores is the easiest version for everybody, right? Because like that's your one-stop shop. You go there, you just give them your schedule, and they give you all the books that you need. Yeah. But I do know that that's not financially feasible for a lot of students either. So that makes a lot of sense. And I know that we have a lot of scholarships and things on campus too. Not too many that I've been too familiar with, just based off of my experience because I'm not a student, but I do know that the Family Life Center has some help and things like that definitely can help you with resources for books. So that's a really good one. What about
didn't know about the Facebook group, but that sounds like a really great resource.
Yeah. All you have to do is just look up, I think it's Mott Community. You have to put out the whole name, Mott Community College. I think it's book transfer or book exchange.
Book exchange or book swap, something like that.
That. And you put in a request though. And somebody approves it. I'm assuming the admin approves it. And once you get approved, you can then ask into the group like, hey, does anybody have this particular book? And then others will comment like, hey, yeah, I got this book. We can exchange, or you can pay it for this cheaper price or whatever.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is really cool. I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah.
I hope that transfers too, because I don't know about you guys, but the thing I've heard most from students today is that Facebook's on the outs, right? Like that's not really a platform that's used much anymore by the newer generations and their demographic. So I hope that there's whatever the next platform is, that we have some version of that can transfer as well. So, that's a good one. How about any other expenses that you guys can think of that were kind of surprising to you when you started?
Mine would have to be tuition. And even being in state, and being within the community, it's still a little pricey. My definitely go-to was filling out that FAFSA first and getting that financial aid support ASAP.
Yeah.
And I would ask family for support as well. My grandmother normally pitches in a lot and supports. She's definitely supportive of any type of educational route. And that I would definitely say tuition for sure.
Yeah, and I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but you mentioned I think before that you have kids, right?
Yes, I have 2 little girls.
All right,
so I'm also taking care of them and trying to make a better life for me to support them. But it definitely can be hard. But that FAFSA, that financial aid support, it definitely helps. I don't think in my 2 years of being at Mott, I would say me out of pocket, about $20.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's from financial aid and family support. My grandmother purchased books that are too expensive.
Gotcha.
Like she finds them elsewhere, helps me out, and then And now my next plan is to sell all of those books that
right. So make some of that money back.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's good though. Like I definitely know that like tuition is usually one of the first answers that we get, because everybody is told all through grade school, right? Like college is the next step. Like prepare for college, be ready for college, make sure your test scores are good so you can get into a good college. Well, they forget to tell you that good college is really expensive.
It is,
right?
Yeah.
So
especially if you don't pitch into like scholarships too.
Right.
Like those play a pretty big factor in paying for tuition as well. I had a scholarship for just being a part of the Flint community. It was like a Genesee Go supplement scholarship.
Okay.
It was like $600, but it still helped.
Yeah.
They split it up into sections per semester, and it helped.
That's awesome.
Whatever little bit that you could take will help.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. I know when I went to college, I didn't have a lot of the same familial help that you seem to have had, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had to navigate things on my own, and I had no idea what financial aid was, and I had no idea how to even take the first step in that direction, or the fact that I had to request information from my parents, which was wild. So like I was taking baby steps, and I was so worried about just getting the first steps initially done that I completely ignored scholarships.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll worry about it later. I'll just pay later. And now I'm eating an incredibly high student loan debt. And that's something that I'm in my 30s now, and I'm definitely still dealing with. every day, where I'm trying to talk to my partner about how we're going to pay this bill down as quickly as we can, and like how to supplement our bills accordingly, and what extra jobs we want to take so we can pay some of that off. And it's really difficult because you think the problem is solved right away when I got it, and I got my Pell Grant, but it wasn't the whole Pell Grant, it was only some of it, So there's a lot of different things where you got to be mentally prepared for those types of things, or it becomes really surprising, and then you're caught off guard and you're not sure what to do next. Or you seemingly get through college really easy. Yeah. And you don't have to pay anything right now. But then you got to come back and pay something later, right? That's the aftershock. That's what I call that, is like the aftershock of that initial idea of the tuition payment, where at first you're like, oh, it's fine. I'm going to college. Maybe not for free, but for free for now. And then later I got to pay it back. That was the scary part for me.
Yeah.
But.
I feel like that's like a big topic in financial literacy, is actually understanding what you're signing yourself up for.
Right.
When it comes to grants, scholarships, and loans. You need to know the difference between the three.
The three, exactly.
And be expected of the consequences of the three.
Yes.
They're good and bad, but
especially loans. And a lot of people have to take out loans for things like books because they don't have the money for that, which is a dangerous area to get in. Not to say that it's not good. Like, obviously, it's definitely helpful in the moment. But then you're signing on for interest payments where you're going to end up paying sometimes twice as much for those books. Yeah. So it's a little harder to kind of take that leap or expect to be okay with the outcome of how much you're going to have to pay for those. Yeah. But... no, that's a really good point. How about anything else? Anybody have anything else that seems surprising? Obviously, books and tuition are probably the top ones, but do we have anything obscure that you think somebody might not think about?
It's not necessarily direct, going to school, but it's everything else that's going on in your life at the same time. Yeah. So if you do have a family, if you do have to worry about transportation on getting to school, it's those things that make it possible to go to school that, can create barriers to completing your education too. So that's some of the things that I've been working on a lot with my students, is finding ways to kind of alleviate these pressures that are outside of school that can affect your studies. So working towards finding grants, or at least making sure that tuition is covered, so that they can focus on their studies and just making the ends meet in the meantime.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important, as you mentioned, especially if you have a family. Because you got to worry about feeding your kids, and you got to think about all the extra
ultimately
expensive.
The top priority, right?
Yeah, yeah, for real. So, no, that's a really good point. Another question I have is, have you faced any kind of financial emergencies, and how did you handle them? So, in the instance of what we've just been talking about, and like those surprises, if there's been an emergency that has come up, how have you handled it? Or if you can share a little bit about the details, no pressure. But I just want to know, like, maybe you have some advice for some students.
So recently, just this past weekend, I had some car troubles with one of my vehicles, my wife's daily driver. And that, like, if we're down to one vehicle, she goes to U of M and I go to Mott, it really screws us over with work and school. Yeah. And it's going to be about a $2,000 fix. So can't afford that off the bat. Luckily, my mechanic's willing to break it down, but it's still going to be a big price point for us. So we actually are going to apply to the Student Emergency Fund here at Mott, and they can award up to a total of $500 for events just like these, when you have a vehicle that breaks down, or if you have a housing crisis or something like that and you need immediate assistance, you can apply to that fund. They can award you assistance for that.
That is a really unfortunate experience for you. I didn't know that. That's definitely hard to swallow, especially when things like that come up. I know we were talking about that earlier with my own things. I'm not a student, but even with not having school and not having like a regular payment to my local college for whatever, I'm still in it, and I don't have all those extra expenses like you guys do. So I have emergencies that come up, and I don't even have children. So I can't imagine what it's like for some of these other families. Anybody else?
Well, speaking back to that transportation, troubles as well. There's some benefits through Family Life Center for this is a resource for bus passes if you live on a bus line. That's not always possible. But another one for Mott students specifically and the community here is if you have a car that's 2015 or newer, that you can take it to the auto lab here at the Regional Technology Center, get scheduled for them to look at it, You pay $10 for that, and then typically it's a lot cheaper for them to do all the repairs. You only have to pay for the parts afterwards. Of course, not everybody has that 2015 or newer, and they don't always have the parts. I actually took my car in there this year for some new struts, and they were like, we don't have the parts. But at least they told me it wasn't something I needed to fix immediately, where someone else did tell me it was. So I kind of trust the opinion of the folks over here who aren't going to charge me $2,000-$3,000 for something like that. So.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. They actually just sent out a flyer about that recently, letting everybody know about the automotive perks that you can have through our automotive department here on campus. So if you are a student and you're listening and you're having some car issues, as he mentioned, it does. Our department does require that your car be a 2015 or newer, just because that's what they're learning to work on. So they need the more up-to-date types of vehicles, which I know not everybody has, including myself. So, but if you do and you are interested, they are definitely looking for things to work on so that they can learn some valuable skills, and it comes in at a very low price point. So they basically, pay for the parts, and you can get some good work out of some of the students here. Plus, they get some good academic knowledge as well, which is what is the most critical and important for what we're looking for. So, another question is, what common financial mistakes do you see students make, and how can they avoid them, or how do you think they can avoid them?
I would definitely say like budgeting out funds. And when I say budgeting out funds, I mean like actually picking what's necessary and what's not necessary. Mm-hmm. I mean, we go and eat out. I'm pretty sure, well, I can speak for myself. I eat out all the time. Yeah. And that is not necessary. But our books and tuition and stuff, that's what's necessary.
Right.
So I would definitely say the first mishap will be budgeting our funds out the correct way, and actually sticking to the plan of that budget, and not dipping into what exactly you planned there. That's what I would say my first thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would actually say the same. And the top two that everyone struggles with is food and entertainment, because it's a variable expense.
Right.
It is not fixed. So I would honestly say budgeting and understanding what it means to have a more fixed budget.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And understanding too that, you might think that dipping into those accounts is okay right now because I only did it once, right? Mm-hmm. But then once is 2 times, and then 2 times is 3 times. And then you end up with no money in that account. Yeah. So I do like the idea of budgeting. I think that is one thing that people are like, well, I'll just spend the money that's in my pocket right now. And it's like, yeah, but then you're going to live on nothing. And you want to make sure that you have something to sustain yourself, especially after college. Nobody talks about that. Right? Because you're spending all your money while you're in college. What happens when you leave college? Then what? You don't got no more money.
You're like, dang, what was I doing?
That's right. That's right. So, and I came to that harsh reality. Of course, when you're 18 years old, oftentimes, no offense to anybody who might be 18, but oftentimes you think, well, I know because I'm newly a part of this adult world, and I could not possibly make any bad decisions, right? And so, but then when you get older, and I'm not even at that point yet where I feel like I'm wise enough to even talk on this topic necessarily, but I have been through some things that would suggest that I in fact did not know when I was 18 that was how I should, plan out my lifestyle. And I'm looking back on it now, I'm like, oh, wish I would have done some things different.
Yeah, I got some great advice. It says save 3 to 6 months ahead of time for an emergency fund, and 3 to 6 months of your salary. So if you make $1,200 a month, just save enough to where you could, prepare for an emergency to where you might not be able to pay your rent. You got that safety net set aside, for emergency. So save and be smart.
Yeah.
Plan for those unexpected costs.
Hardships.
Yeah.
Right. Planning ahead is always a good idea.
Yeah.
I would say something that really helped me too is you can even gamify it. Like I didn't grow up learning how to budget or plan or save or anything like that. It wasn't really taught to me in school. And when it was, I didn't really sponge it in,
Right.
So I would say the biggest thing is like, if you've got a savings goal of like you were talking about for like 3 to 6 months of salary, like plan a vacation. Give yourself that $1,000 little weekend getaway that you save for, because like making it to where you have a fun thing that you're also saving towards, it makes everything else seem so much easier. And then you are almost rewarding yourself for being diligent in savings.
Yeah, it kind of like give you a purpose.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I've learned for those that are out there that might have a partner, especially a partner maybe with children or maybe even not with children, one thing I've definitely learned is that you got to have like monthly meetings at the minimum with your partner. You got to sit down and you got to have those hard conversations. You got to talk about money. You got to talk about bills. You got to talk about food. You gotta, you got to talk about schedules, like the things that can really help to benefit your relationship together with the two of you and also benefit your family. And I think that with my partner, we've definitely really honed in on this a lot and learned from a lot of other people and a lot of research about how that can really sustain your relationship. And like the number one cause of divorce is finances. Like it has been forever. So what we don't want is to be divorced at some point because we haven't had the hard conversations about education and about how are we going to pay for college. If we both go back to school, how are we going to pay for it? How are we going to maintain our house? How are we going to take care of our dependents? Things like that. And so it's definitely something I feel like not necessarily people are doing wrong, but they aren't taking it into consideration as a regular pattern that should be established. So like, and it doesn't take much. I mean, we go to the library. So, and it's in minimum once a month on like a Saturday or whenever you got free time, whenever works for you, go and have those tough conversations and sit down and say, okay, let's write out all of our expenses for the month and let's write out how much you have spent and how much I have spent, and we will compare, and then we'll see what we can do to lessen that amount next month, or how we can pay this bill off, or we can do that. And I can tell you from 100% experience, that is probably the best thing that we've ever done for our relationship. Like, we just sit down and we hash it out, and there's transparency there, and we're not blaming each other. We're not telling each other that, well, you spent more than me this month and it's your fault that we don't have money. It's not like that. These are the things we spent. We're going to try to do better, or maybe we're good. Maybe we're paying the things off that we need to pay. And like, we're taking the time to listen to each other and figure out what is, the tough things that we're dealing with right now. Like for example, my partner and I have decided not to eat out for this year. And it's only been 2 months and we're both struggling real hard with that one, but we're getting there. And we've decided now that like, we think maybe after like the 3rd month, we might be over that hump of like missing out. Like we have that FOMO where we're like, oh, we can't go out with our friends and we can't have all this extra food, and we have to cook at home, lame, And so, but I feel like we're getting to a point now where we're realizing, hey, this is not so bad. And we actually have more money in the bank that we were just blowing on stuff we don't even remember we spent. Like half the stuff, we were talking about that the other week. We were like, where were we spending all of our money? Where'd it go? Like we have no idea. And now that we've kind of put every dollar in a place and we budgeted, like you guys suggested, that we know now how our finances are working, and we're more diligent with our responses. We're less hostile with each other, and we're good communicators, which I think is a hugely important thing. And I would highly recommend that to people. Like I said, it's not that you're doing it wrong. It's just not something that people think about. And I think that it's benefited me, and I share with everybody that I know, because I'm like, trust me, you're going to like it. And if you want to stay married, you should do this. So, or with your partner in general. Yeah.
Definitely agree to that. I can say I'm definitely grateful for my partner as well. He took the taking care of the kids side while I'm at school, handling the degree, and I'm just grateful, like, to have family that supports you in that aspect, because it is hard. You're trying to study at home, and you got kids running around screaming, and you can't focus, and that's when he pitches in like, hey,
right,
this is our money here.
That's right. That's funny. You got to give you some time to study, because you're about to make all the money in the family, right?
Yeah. And then I can support him, and that's how we create that generational wealth. Just keep it going.
Yeah.
How do you guys prioritize your spending when it comes to like when you have to think about the things that might be coming up. So say, for example, we're not at a point where we are actively in a semester, but we're planning to be. So maybe it's like, I don't know, July or something. And we're getting ready for fall. And fall's coming up and we're trying to sit back and think, okay, what should my priorities be? Obviously, we talked a little bit about family and how that should be priority number one. We all know that. But like, what other things? How do you take your finances into account when you're trying to plan to go to school? Maybe if you've had the whole summer off or something like that.
The first step is reapplying for FAFSA.
Yep. And make sure you apply for the right year.
Mm-hmm.
That has happened
25,
before.
26 for this coming year.
I just found out that they open every October. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Didn't know it opens in October.
Right. And just make sure that you're applying for the right year. Like we just had that conversation with Student Success Services about the fact that a lot of the students were setting up in October, but applying for the current year instead of the next year or whatever else that they're looking for.
Yeah, I found myself doing that too.
Yeah. So make sure you're paying attention to that. That's a good first step.
Mm-hmm. If you're 21 plus and you don't have a degree or a certificate, you can also then follow that up with a application to Michigan Reconnect. That's a bottom dollar grant to pay for your tuition. So anything that's not covered by your FAFSA, that will cover that. And then what's the one for 18? Is it Michigan Achievement?
I think
if you're
so.
coming out of high school.
Yep.
So you could be, I'm sure your school counselors, if you're in high school or, dual enrolled or have already worked with it, but that's another resource for students. So at least in terms of tuition, for a lot of people in Michigan right now, it's something that don't have to worry about as much, which is a great thing.
What about when it comes to scholarships? Do you guys have any recommendations, like where they can look for scholarships or how to prioritize that as like even though it's a back end part about getting into college, it's still very important. So do you have any advice about that?
Yeah, definitely go to Mott's website, type in scholarships, and there are going to be a ton for you to apply to. Most of them don't require a lot of information, just some background documentation. And like I said, there's a ton of them. And the biggest thing is just be early about it. Don't wait until 2 weeks before the semester to start trying to apply. I don't know the exact deadlines off the top of my head, but they're all listed. Just get on it early and just give it your best effort forward. There's a ton of them there.
Yeah, I applied last semester to a lot of them, and a lot of the requirements weren't too heavy or anything like that. I just applied just because I know I needed to. So definitely look at the scholarships that Mott offer and outside scholarships maybe in the community that's offered and apply. They definitely help for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just found out today that our school Mott actually have our own scholarships.
We do, yes.
I just found that out today, talking to the financial aid wing.
Mm-hmm.
And they literally told me that they have internal scholarships, external scholarships, trustee leadership scholarships, and even private scholarships. It's crazy. I did not know that.
No, I definitely think that's a really good point. There are a lot of scholarships right here at the college. And then there are programs that you can join once you're in Mott that will have other scholarships for you depending on how, like if you're here or if you advance your career to another institution, like Phi Theta Kappa is one of them. Mm-hmm. If it's an honor society for 2-year colleges, if you were to join that program and you pay your one-time due, I think it is, then you can sign up for the scholarship program where you can get scholarships for your current schooling and your future schooling. So they have hundreds of resources, thousands probably. I haven't seen it in a while. I haven't been a part of PTK since I was in college. So, but I do know that they have a lot as well. But there's other honor societies that have all that stuff too. And then our local colleges as well, like any 4-year institutions like UVM Flint, Kettering, things like that. You can also apply for theirs. And they usually have all of theirs on their website as well.
I'm a part of Phi Theta Kappa, and I didn't know that.
Yes.
Look, we're finding out stuff already.
Yeah, I think it's on their website actually.
I have to check that out as soon as I leave here.
Yeah, and then if you talk to your PTK rep, usually they will connect you with someone in the regional office that can kind of help you navigate that as well. Don't quote me on this, but this is how it happened when I was in college. So, but go to your rep, try to figure out what the next steps are, and just say you're interested in scholarship. They usually can point you right in the right direction. It's probably all automated now.
Yeah.
It's probably all online, which it was not for me. So I would start there first if you're going to look in that direction.
NSLS is another great one, kind of like PTK, where it's an external scholarship, but still connected through Mott as well to get more scholarships. And something my wife did when she was here, she was a part of the honors program. And for each course that you take in the honors program, you get a $250 scholarship. So that's another option you have here.
And
Wow.
that is also, you could take your regular gen ed courses in an honors program. So you could take like English and be an honors English class. It would count as the English class you already need,
Mhm.
but you could get your scholarship to pay for part of that class, which is great.
Yeah.
I would also say SPAC too.
Yeah.
That's basically a scholarship. I mean, you have that GPA requirement and meet the other requirements,
Mhm.
and they help out too. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a pretty hefty scholarship.
I mean,
And
yeah.
I will say, when it comes to SPAC, it is a first need. So basically, it gets applied to your tuition first, and then after that, they give you a living stipend, which is pretty nice. So if you are listening and you'd like to be a part of SPAC in the future, we do have a application for you to fill out. If you come to the Office of Student Life, we are in the Curtis Mott Building, room 1129. We can hook you up with the right resources and make sure that you get your application in. Typically, we take about 10 students a semester. It is kind of a process because you do have to be vetted and you do have to get accepted in the program. But once you are, you work with me and typically these students that are here today with us, or maybe some new faces with you. And then hopefully we will see some progress maybe over the summer for a summer program as well. So there's a lot of ways to get really awesome scholarships here, and probably a bunch we don't even know about.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I have one question about like faculty and staff support. So from your guys' perspective, students who are struggling financially while maintaining academic success, how can faculty and staff help with that? What would be, from your perspectives, the first step for them to help them, recognize the problem and solve the issue? What resources are here? Where should the student go if they need help?
Well, Andy here is like he's like my advisor. So I look to him. Whenever I see his email, I'm automatically clicking on it because I know it's something that's resourceful to students.
Sure.
So I'm always looking out for the emails for certain individuals. My success coach, I'm always looking for his email and seeing what
Nice.
he's offering.
Who's your
'cause,
coach? Is it Dan or Kenyella?
Dan
Dan?
Yeah.
Stewart.
Yeah, he's
Dan
mine
Stewart.
too.
Yeah, Dan Stewart.
The
He's the man.
motivational Mondays.
Yeah,
That's right.
I'm always looking at his emails, and I'm always excited to see certain names because I know they have the resources for the students.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
You know Dan has his own podcast, right?
No, I did not know.
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I
he's got his
talked to
own.
him today about it.
Yeah, and he comes in here and uses a studio too.
Yep.
So,
Really?
yeah. Maybe you could be a guest on his podcast. sorry, Dan. I'm just like pitching your podcast out to
Oh
people.
yeah, I already told him that. I said, "Yeah, you owe me. I need you."
There you go. He can come. He's super funny too. So he's
he
always
is.
has this room just roaring in laughter. So maybe he could be a good guest in the future. Anybody else have any advice for faculty staff?
I think the biggest thing is just not even so much for the faculty, but as a student to the faculty, like don't be afraid to ask questions. If you're struggling or something's going on, you have to be able to send an email to your professor, be like, hey, this is going on in my life. Like just let them know, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to respond, be like, I understand, either help you out in the class, give you extensions, or here's this resource that you can reach out to at the college to be able to get help. Most professors here, in my experience, have been very helpful. It's just about the student reaching out and it being like, hey, this is a problem,
Yeah.
and letting them know that something's going on.
The transparency for sure.
Yep.
You gotta advocate for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's good. Those are both good advice. Just because, obviously you start with the idea of what practicality, things could we induce into our programming and try to get help people out. But the other part of it is taking that first step, asking questions, saying I need help. Those are good pieces of advice. All right. I have one more question for you guys. And it's the traditional question that I always ask at the end of every episode. So, a surprise if you've not been here before. But if you could give one piece of advice to any incoming student about managing money, what would it be?
Well, today I just found out about MCC's Money Smart Financial Program. So for any new students coming in, I would definitely say to join that. They do have virtual meetings on the 4th Tuesday of every month from 4 to 4:30. And they basically will give you the rundown, especially if you're just now coming in to school trying to figure out how you're going to balance your money, how you're going to do your tuition, books, etc. They have an actual program here at Mott that will help you understand everything you need as far as budget planning, credit report, credit score, education, like debt reviews before you get started, so you don't have to worry about that debt when you graduate.
Yeah.
I would definitely give that advice. Join that and get into one of those meetings because they do offer very valuable information.
Yeah, they actually give one-on-one private sessions with a financial advisor, and it's completely free for Mott students too, and I think community members as well, as you sign up, maybe like go through an intake session at Workforce or something. But just to have someone that can actually see what's going on in your life, because everybody's situation is different.
Yes,
that can be extremely valuable in terms of kind of planning and setting up yourself for success as you continue forward. So
that's
great suggestion.
That is incredibly important. And I think that a lot of people, just for those that are listening that might be of a younger age and not experienced enough in this topic yet, that resource right there is already so valuable. Like because you can pay for a financial coach when you get out of college, and it's expensive. It's really expensive. And starting out on the right foot and making the right financial decisions when you're young is incredibly important, and it's going to help you long term. And if I had been able to do that, my life would be very different today if I had that resource. So maybe I will take advantage of that now. Who knows? Yeah.
I would definitely say utilize what's here on campus, especially the first few semesters. They have printing. They have, of course, they have many different labs. They have a lot of resources here right on campus that you don't have to go outside and spend extra money trying to find. Tutoring and everything like that, especially just before you can be financially mature, kind of just use what's here and available to you for free.
Yeah, that's very important, especially it helps to consolidate things for you too, right? So you're not wandering all over the place looking for resources.
I would suggest also, and we've mentioned it already before, budgeting and tracking. First, you have to track to know what your expenses are. Do that for a few months before you can really decide what you don't have to spend money on. But if you got a habit of going to Starbucks or McDonald's and you think, it's just $5 here and there, it really adds up at the end of the month. And that's a lot of money you could be saving by making your own cup of coffee or, maybe not cooking eggs at home, but
maybe not eggs right
now. But you can save a lot of money just when you know how much you're actually putting out there every day to purchase those things.
Yeah, definitely. I use an app called Checkbook, and that just helps me, like, as soon as I use my card, instantly go on the app, put in what the purchase was, and then when it clears, say it cleared. And then I have like a full viewpoint of where I'm spending my money each month.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't use any apps. I'm slightly old school. Maybe I do need to venture in that way, but I've gone on like Etsy and I've talked to financial advisors that create like spreadsheets and things like that. And you can buy them for like $10 and they'll give you one for you and your spouse, one for your family, one for your pets. It'll talk about your budget goals. They'll have sheets for you that are part of the package that are talking about how to pay down your student loans, and they'll give you spreadsheets that you can just implement your information into. I bought one, I think mine was $13 and I got 8 spreadsheets in it or something like that. And I have them forever. Like I can just make copies of them and I use them every year. I just change it out. And then the people who write them are often, a part of the financial community professionally. So they got lots of good advice and things. So the least you can do, the free thing to do is ask.
Yes.
Always just ask. The worst they could say is, no, I'm not giving out that information for free. And you say, okay, well, how much is it then? that kind of thing. I definitely think it's really important to take that step in understanding where your finances are going. And I hate to be this person, guys, but cancel those subscriptions. I guarantee you right now you're paying for something you don't even know you're paying for. I guarantee it. So look through your finances, make sure that you're in check with that. Maybe you don't need 8 different, video subscriptions for watching TV. Maybe you need like 2 or 3, maybe. I don't know. Or other things like games and stuff like that. Maybe there's a way to just not say eliminate it entirely, because that's not feasible, right? We talk about that all the time. Like, we're not saying dump your finances and go down to complete zero. Like, don't spend any money. That's not realistic. We know that. But really hone in on the things that are important to you. And I think I can speak for everybody in this room. If you really want it and you want to make a difference, you're going to do it. So that in and of itself is something that all you have to do is start at this point. And starting early is better than later. I can just tell you that from being as old as I am now. I think that's one benefit that I've learned is I should have definitely started earlier. Not for a lack of people telling me. So I didn't take the advice. Maybe you should.
Definitely take the advice.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys for coming and talking with us today. We hope that you enjoyed our session about financial literacy and how to implement that into your daily life. We really appreciate this conversation that we've had. Hopefully we've added a little bit of extra pizzazz to your financial perspective when it comes to down the line, especially when it comes to coming to college. We hope that if you are listening and you don't already come to Mott, that you do that and you come and apply with us. If you'd like to come on campus, you can visit the Prawl Center and they can walk you through our onboarding process. Or if you're not sure where to go, you can come to the Student Life office in the Curtis Mott Building, room 1129, and we'd be more than happy to walk you through the process for getting here as a student and otherwise, maybe if you just have some questions for us. So if you are a student and you are listening to our content on a regular basis, please, by all means, comment below any opinions or any questions that you might have. We would love to hear from you, and we'd love to answer anything that we can, or at least give our perspective and our opinion on those. Not necessarily that we're all professionals, but we will do our best. So thank you so much for your time. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this with your friends, and we look forward to seeing you all again. Until next time, go Bears.
And that is it for this episode of Bear Blast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Be sure to follow us so you're always in the know about what's happening at Mott. And for even more Bear content, check us out on TikTok and Instagram. Just search for MCC Student Life. Until next time, go Bears!